What is up, team? What is up? It's Mike Frank with Berkshire Hathaway, Frank Oliver and Company, coming to you today with our revered manager, Debbie Dwyer.
Yay, Debbie!
Yay, Debbie! Woo. And Heather. You guys know Heather.
Hello.
Oh, we made a mess today. We spilled coffee, so we cleaned it up.
Oh,
sorry.
Glad you cleaned it up.
Yeah, right? Anyway, we don't have a trash
points.
can. Nyeh. So close.
Yeah.
Well, today on the show, we talked about 10 reasons to live in Maryland. So I said something to Debbie. I was like, oh, we're going to talk about 10 reasons to live in Maryland. She's like, water, 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 water.
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 It's all around us.
It's everywhere.
In a state where there's water almost everywhere you go.
I mean, at least it's real water. Like, Florida is all man-made lakes.
Right. I mean,
Did you know that?
you have the
I
coast.
didn't actually know that. I was
Every lake in Florida is man-made.
I was ready to talk trash,
Maryland
too.
also has no natural lakes.
Really?
But
Is that
what
true?
So what is Deep Creek? It's a
man-made.
creek. It's man-made?
Well, it's also, I don't think it's a lake.
It's a creek.
I
What's
think
the
it's like,
differentiation between the two?
I think a lake is like a cavern of water. Like,
Okay. and
whereas
what would
like,
a
I think
creek-
Deep Creek is like a,
It's flowing.
like
The
a,
lake doesn't-
there's like an in and an out. I think.
Like a tributary.
Right. I was going
Like
to
a
say
tributary.
tributary off of a river.
Debbie's like, what are we going to talk about on the podcast? And I was like, I have no idea.
So we're right.
Tributaries.
Oh my goodness. So at least we have some people.
Right.
Anyway,
We're not going to talk about riparian rights.
no, definitely not. That's super like real estatey and I'm not about it. Just kidding. We're all about real estate.
It's just
Love my job.
So one thing that I was thinking about when we wrote this, as you guys know, Liv writes a great topic every single week. So there's 10 things. We talked about water. So that kind of hits nature and parks. It kind of hits location, kind of hits everything. But the one that really hit me was the cuisine. Because, I don't know, we don't talk about that a lot. People that aren't from Maryland are like, oh, crabs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, crabs are good, but like, honestly, they're so much better.
here.
That's my opinion.
The Thai food.
Well, see, what I said was like, it's affordable to start a business. So there's a lot of like great chefs that start a business from nothing. Instead of like going to work for insert famous chef here, like they're starting their own business. And I think that's great.
That's great.
Especially like right over here, like York Road, Belvedere Square. Like there's so much opportunity.
Well,
I love
think that would actually go into another point here that you said was cultural diversity. So I think
True
our
facts.
proximity to Washington, D.C., which is such a, transient in and out, and a lot of people from a lot of parts of the world, different countries, etc., move into Baltimore or Maryland, any parts of Maryland, because it's more affordable. So then they bring their cuisine,
Right.
and they start their restaurant, and here we go. We got
And
good
I
food.
think like the affordability too, because in some neighborhoods, like especially if you go down towards like Potomac, right, you get to a place where it's so expensive that
right.
it's more the price point that drives the community. Whereas like here, if you want to spend $300,000-400,000, you can go to this area and be, in a more culturally diverse sector, and go to this area and be in a different culturally diverse sector for the same amount of money.
Right. Exactly.
Whereas I think, some areas are not that way.
Right.
I don't know. I think there's a lot of great reasons to love Maryland, but you said water. I earlier said the Appalachian Trail.
I think it's that you have literally everything. Like you
Yeah.
have big cities, you have little country areas, you have beaches, everything.
Well, we have 4 seasons.
Yeah.
Mountains.
Yeah.
One of the funniest moments of my young adult life, one of my friends was in Maryland from South Carolina, and he takes his cell phone, which like, aging myself a little, I guess, like color photos on cell phones were like a thing, right? And he took his cell phone out the front of the truck and he goes, look at all the colors, like this. Like anybody could possibly see what he was actually videotaping. But it was just like the novelty of having so many different colors on the trees in the fall. And like you get the reds and the whites and the greens and the evergreen trees and the deciduous and losing leaves and like all this other stuff. And it's like, I don't recognize how unique that is, but it's incredibly unique because a lot of places don't have it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, then, if we're going to go to seasons, let's talk about also, vineyards and then horse farms and
Oh, we didn't talk about that.
skiing and, all those types of things, like activities that all go around how geographically diverse Maryland is.
Yeah. Like, I think we hit the Formula One for a couple of years. That was like really wild and very unique to Baltimore. But then we don't talk about things like the steeplechase races and the other horse trendy things that you don't get in other parts of the country. I think it's kind of cool. I mean, if you go to the South, there's a lot of like plantation and horse farms and things of that nature, but it's not the same as like jockeying and
I'd say this is far more
and,
equestrian than like
Right.
horse farms.
horse farms, right? Where we raise horses for money. No, it's different. This is like a sport.
Yeah.
Right.
What is
Equestrian.
what is the state sport?
Jousting.
Stop ruining the joke, Andrea. Heather didn't know that. Fun fact: do you know what the state flower is?
It's not.
Petunias.
No. Actually, it's not the black-eyed Susan.
What?
I thought it wasn't because it's actually. Maybe it is.
I thought it was.
Well, it's on the. It's
is.
maybe it
Black-eyed
is.
Susan is the
Is
state
it?
flower,
Okay.
yeah.
I didn't know
But it
that.
never blooms when it needs to bloom for the horse races.
No,
it has
it
a
doesn't
different.
bloom in that time.
Right. Okay. So that's what I'm getting confused.
Maryland state flower. Yeah, the black-eyed Susan. I
Okay.
got.
So what's the Maryland state tree? If you're in there.
Is it a dogwood tree?
What is
I
it?
don't know. Is it a dogwood tree?
Oh, let's find out.
I actually don't.
It is a white oak. Wow,
Well,
wild.
Okay. All right.
And like also that tree is beautiful. That picture is awful, but like that's pretty. Who
Which
knew?
one is that? Was that big oak that was on the way to Washington College? That
There was one that they moved a couple years ago for
I
like,
think it got hit by lightning.
ooh, yikes.
I'll have to Google that.
Maryland oak, Maryland state tree. I don't know.
It's like the Y oak or something like that.
Oh,
It's enormous. Remember?
yeah, I do remember that. Anyway, what else is unique to Maryland? Now I want to know. Maryland facts.
What's the state dog? Do you guys know? I know.
State dog.
I-
I'm gonna go with a retriever.
Yeah,
Chesapeake-
I thought it was a retriever.
Chesapeake retriever.
Yeah.
There we go.
All right. 5 facts to know about Maryland. The nickname is the Old Line State, that we know. Capital is not Baltimore.
It's Annapolis.
Thank you.
Okay. We have the Naval Academy.
Well, yeah, duh.
I mean, we have an
We have
academy.
that. We have Johns Hopkins.
That's huge.
NIH is here.
State bird.
Maybe. Wait a minute.
Got
Oriole.
It's the Oriole,
Okay,
duh.
hold on. I saw.
I'm sitting here like,
For some reason, I saw a cardinal in my head.
No.
exactly what I said.
And then my brain went, not red, Debbie, orange.
Yeah,
See,
right.
I went red too because of the flag.
But also, like, it messes people up because then you have, like, the Orioles and the Ravens. So, like, Raven comes from Edgar Allan Poe,
Right, exactly.
who was, like, a Baltimore resident, which I find fascinating.
Yes, he was.
he actually was a regular at the bar right across the street from mine. But
Which one is that?
the horse, they leave like a shot of his bourbon out every
they do?
night. And
Oh, I
it's,
didn't know
it's
that.
like folklore that he drinks.
Yo, go Eric. Go Eric. Favorite restaurant owner ever.
I could
If you
be
guys
capping
ever
on
want
that.
like a fun Maryland thing to do, go to Yelp, Google the horse you came in on. It is the oldest continuously operating saloon in America.
Wasn't
Oh, I
it
didn't know
open
that.
during the Prohibition too?
Yeah, that's how.
Wow.
Yeah, and Eric bought it. Eric is like, I'm going to give you a couple of years, bro. I think he's like 38. He might be older than that, but he bought it when he was like just out of college or
What
something.
year was that then?
2000.
Oh, okay. I frequented it more in the 80s.
No, like he might
But
have.
it hasn't changed. I want to tell you.
No.
He might have bought it in the 90s, right?
Right.
He bought it, from what I understand, there was like a partner, his grandfather, and him. And they just ran this bar. It was like the diviest bar, but it was
yeah.
so much fun.
Right.
And then now it's like two-sided and bourbon on one side and tequila on the other. And
I need to go back. I haven't been. It wasn't that upscale when I was
You didn't
there.
go for Fells Fest?
I wasn't down
we
there.
didn't either. Yeah, I was really sad about it.
I
But
haven't been there in a long time either.
But like, okay, so you mentioned Annapolis, you got Fells Point, all these waterfront towns, and I think I said this the other day to somebody, like Fells Point is probably the most underrated town in America. Like, I just feel like there's so much talk about all these northeastern like waterfront towns,
Right. It's a great place to go walk around.
Yeah.
Eat. They have great food
and they've done so much in the last like 5 years.
and great architecture. Because that old police station that's now the Pendry that was the scene
Yeah.
for homicide back in the day. When
Right.
I didn't know that was a police station.
Oh yeah, that was the OG police station.
No way.
When I was growing up, so they had closed it from the homicide show, The Wire and everything, but they had it gated off but the gates were like openable, and the
Right.
city had like extra vehicles on the pier.
Right. It
I
was
remember like walking by and like seeing vehicles like through. So like if you look at the big glass entrance to the
Yeah.
Pendry, you could just see right through the water.
I know.
And it was like vehicle, water. Wild.
I love that.
Yeah, it's so cool.
So much.
But like also, where can you get like the cobblestone streets,
Right.
and like, I mean, we just
Would you
mentioned
say
it, like,
that like because it's so suburban, it gets looked over? Like, would you say that's the
Yeah.
reason?
yeah, because I think it would be more of a novelty if it was in New
It's
York.
not like cottagey homes
Right.
and
It's not like no one desires that location for a residence, but when you visit Baltimore, like that's the place you go.
It's the place
Nobody
to go.
goes to Federal Hill. Well, they go to Federal Hill, but they don't go to like the bars on Cross Street. Stop it.
They actually
Yo,
do,
talk
though.
to any
Like, when you're
college age
touristy-
student and
I was gonna- I
Bed
don't
Hill
know.
every
Okay.
Yeah,
Friday,
no, I get
Saturday.
that. I mean, like,
Thursdays
touristy.
flip night. Like,
So I'm going to say
We just talked about
when you
Flip
live
Night.
down there. So I do think Federal Hill and part of Fells Point too is an extension of after college because you
100%.
You know, you live
Into.
with 6 or 7
And now
people
the
in
coolest
the
thing
same
that's
house.
happening is like there's been this resurgence of like living downtown. So people
Yeah.
used to,
Right.
no offense, but like people used to do this thing where they would buy a house, they'd rent it out to a couple roommates, and then they'd like get married, have a kid, and move out.
Right.
But now they're like keeping their kids in downtown until they're 4, 6, 8, 10. And then there's so many things to do, whether it's the pool at the gym or whether it's the dog park or whether it's all of Canton Square. I mean, it's just so suburban. Like it's so
there are parks
residential.
everywhere. And especially with what they did in the Inner Harbor right under Fed Hill, like the actual hill.
Oh yeah.
How they made the skate park and that
Right.
giant playground
Rashfield.
and everything
Yeah,
like that.
at
Yeah.
Rashfield, which nobody knows it's called Rashfield.
Oh, what's it called now?
It's
I
called
just call
Rashfield,
it
but
Baltimore
nobody knows
Beach.
that.
Oh, nobody knows.
Yeah,
it's
Baltimore
called.
Beach
Is what
at
I-
Rashfield. Yeah. The aquarium, the science center, like all this shit is so cool, and we just never talk about it.
No.
But we do also
Talk
have
about
like
the zoo. Let's go. Let's switch Midtown and talk about the zoo.
Are you talking about the Baltimore Zoo?
Yes.
That's my
Yes.
favorite. I
a
walked there
great
for my
zoo.
birthday last year, and I,
I
had a grand
worked
old
there.
time.
You did.
No
Yeah, when I was
way.
younger, they have the polar bears, the penguins.
All I had was a
Did you
membership
feed
when
them?
the kids were little.
The penguins, yes. The polar bears, no. You're not allowed to get close to those.
They're not very nice.
The penguins are though. Oh, those dudes are so funny. Like when you have the bucket inside, they know and they like run outside.
Of course. They're hungry.
I mean,
It's
instincts,
so
I would
funny.
figure so.
It's so
I want to work
funny.
with the giraffes there.
I didn't get a chance to do that, but every once in a while there's like a baby giraffe born, and it's like not as overplayed as like if it were a panda at the National Zoo.
Well,
or like
because they have fertility issues.
pandas.
Yes.
Oh
I didn't know
You
that.
didn't know that?
no, I don't
That's
know.
like one of the most famous things about pandas.
Well, there's okay. So there's another thing that we love about Maryland, right? Like there's the DC Zoo, which is the
Right.
national like Smithsonian Zoo,
Right.
and the Baltimore Zoo, 40 minutes away from each other, right? So especially if you have kids, there's so much to
much
do.
to do.
And all I ever hear from people is like, "Oh, I never thought about this. I was doing this with my kid, and then this, and then that, and then the other." And I don't think about that until you get put in the environment,
Yeah.
right? Like the National Aquarium is in Baltimore, which is really kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, the Smithsonian is all free. It's all right down the road. There's Smithsonian museums that I've never even been to.
If you're a homeschool parent, I feel like Maryland is your go-to.
I'm trying to be a homeschool student.
Well,
Like, I want to go to do
and the
those
Calvert
things.
School does one of the curriculums that are approved in the country.
People don't
Yeah.
even know what Calvert School is.
Well, it has a curriculum for homeschooling.
Okay, so
It's
there's
one of the first.
But they have to have a certain quota of like field trip days.
right.
Which is why I was
what's
saying
the
that.
curriculum
number
you have to
6
follow and then-
live was excellent schools. And we didn't even talk about the private schools. Like, I know that that's like faux pas, whatever, but the public schools are great. And there's lots of opportunity to get into like Blue Ribbon, national designation, blah, 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 all the great public schools around. But there's so many really unique private institutions. The Calvert School is literally just beyond walking distance from this building.
Yeah.
And I never knew that
Squarely.
until I found a client that was working there. And I was like, where's the Calvert School?
Right. So I never hear.
I didn't know. But I mean, you've got Friends, you've got Gilman, McDonough, Bryn Mawr, Boys Latin. There's so much.
Then all the parochial schools,
What is that?
cathedral,
What's a
Calvert,
parochial school?
Like
Catholic,
Catholic based.
or Christian based. Parochial.
That'd be in her vocabulary.
Loving it.
Anyway, So is like St. Paul a parochial school?
I would assume so by the name.
Because it is. There is some denomination. I'm not sure what it is.
It's Catholic.
I don't think St. Paul's is Catholic.
I'm 90% sure.
Oh, okay.
That's
You want
nice.
to Google that?
Yeah, I'm gonna Google it. Yeah. St. Paul School.
It might be Lutheran.
Oh, see now you might. Yeah. You might be on something that I don't know. St. Paul School.
I was just talking to someone the other day about the pluses of my Jesuit education. I went to Loyola. I mean, it doesn't in real life. You know, it's better to be more specialized, especially today. But as far as all the stuff that I learned there, that was sort of random. I'm like, oh, okay, that's what the Jesuits are all about.
Yeah.
I don't know how to find it.
Okay, well,
Like,
okay.
I'm on their website, but like I don't know how to find it.
It's all right.
But anyway, I mean, I just think there's a lot of opportunity, and it's not something that we talk about a lot because I feel like I'm so quick to be like, ooh, don't talk about real estate and schools at the same time, right?
Yeah,
But
there's a school for everybody. Let's say that, right?
yeah, let's say that. Fun fact, number 10 was we're the happy states. So number 7th happiest state in the country. Do you know what number 1 was?
California,
Number 2,
Florida.
number 5?
I'm going to say something that has a lot of sun.
I think it was probably.
You think,
And legal weed.
no way.
What do you mean?
No way, because it was so, like, that's such a big state. There's no way that. I would imagine it to be like Rhode Island.
I don't
Oh,
think
you
they're-
know what? It was Rhode Island.
Oh!
for a happy state.
Yeah.
I just want to let you know, like, if y'all need somebody to be on your trivia team, I am available for hire.
That's all right. But
Free,
I would think
but
that
also
Rhode Island,
available.
maybe they have a lot of sunlight.
This one had this list was Maryland is number 2, Hawaii is number 1.
Oh,
That makes
dig.
sense.
I'm about that life.
So I just
Rhode
say I
Island,
base like the
Hawaii.
sunlight
Yeah.
and having enough sunlight.
But they have to be like small, right?
And
Because you can't
happy.
have like
Community.
yeah, you can't have
oriented.
like Texas.
Why couldn't you have Texas?
I mean, like,
It's too big.
But people there could be happy.
but the consensus is hard to accomplish.
Oh, all right.
That's where I'm going with that.
Okay.
That's why I picked Rhode Island.
Okay.
Anyway, I don't think about Hawaii. But also, if my favorite thing about having Debbie on this is I want to know your best Maryland accent. That's
Oh
it.
my gosh, that's kind of putting me on the spot. I do it better when I have a drink or two in me.
We can make that happen. I think we have some Casa Repo in the
I
office.
gotta- I have a huge work day. Is there something I could read?
Literally,
Say
just
first home morning.
tell us about your morning, but tell us in a Maryland accent.
Like,
right.
just pick one.
Oh my gosh.
So the quintessential
All right.
one.
Was it the hun? Hey hun, I woke up, I washed my hands in the sink, and then I went down the street and said to somebody, "Can I borrow that ink pen?"
Yeah, that's it. That's how I was just going for, like, down the ocean, right? Like, that's the quintessential, like, Baltimore accent.
When I think of Baltimore accent, I think of the TikToks where he's like, first day in Baltimore, someone called me dummy, and I didn't know what that means. It's like 2 days, and he goes, he wouldn't call me dummy. He was just talking to me, you know? That's what I think of.
You're not going to finish that whole thing?
Nope. Because it's bad. It's terrible.
At any rate, we do have to hop off because
Yep.
Debbie,
I have a full-time job.
for real, and
I
she's
have
got
a
some new
full-time
people
job,
coming
too. I have
in.
some new people coming in. And sometimes in my head, I have trouble with the Philly accent versus the Maryland accent. So.
Oh, well, now you've got to throw that one out.
No, I
Now
can't.
I just do an accent and all of them
Okay,
come
yous
out.
guys, come on. Come
Right.
on, yous guys.
Right. But you don't hear that one as much because most people that we know from Philly are like the uppity Phillies.
Well,
they're not like the down home.
So I'm a South Jersey girl, so that's what I grew up with.
Well,
so I
we-
try to not have an accent when I speak.
We run
Oh,
into these people when we're like showing houses, and they'll be like, "You guys looking at that house?" And they're like, "Yeah." And then you get into a whole conversation with them, and then I've lived here for 30 years. My dad lived down the road, blah, 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 blah. And they have thick accents for sure.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for having me.
La, 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 la. All right. Well, Debbie's got to run. We got to run. We'll talk to you guys real soon. As always, thank you so much for hanging out. You can reach us at Frank Oliver Co. on TikTok, at Michael Frank ___ on
Smash
Instagram.
that like button.
Smash it. Debbie, how can people reach you if they want to touch base with you?
They
Yikes.
they could text you and then get my number. And then
Stop it. Debbie.Dwyer905 or something on
said meet
Instagram.
with my
I think
assistant,
my
Mike Frank.
Instagram, I'm DDwyer905.
There you go. I was so close.
Yeah.
Right? And you
Yeah.
can always call the office 410-464-5500.
There you go.
Heather, How can people reach you?
Heather Kelley 230, and Kelley is spelled with an EY.
On TikTok too?
On everything.
On
think so.
everything. Anyway, as always, we're so excited to have you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. Talk to you real soon.